US, China, India, and Ukraine redraw the map. When someone once dismissed is suddenly welcomed with open arms, it doesn't reflect a change in them. It reveals the uncertainty of those facing them. In a striking sequence of events, the United States signed a strategic minerals agreement with Ukraine. Almost simultaneously, the Trump administration revived arms sales to Kyiv on the very first day of its new term. Meanwhile, across the globe, Chinese state media shifted from defiant rhetoric to vague acknowledgments of ongoing negotiations. These seemingly disparate developments are emerging as pieces of a larger puzzle, hinting at a global power structure being reshaped. What is the U.S. aiming to achieve with Ukraine? Why is China showing signs of unease? And why is India emerging as a pivotal player in this global realignment? Let's dive into the undercurrents, from minerals to tariffs, from Taiwan to F-35s, from public summits to provocative propaganda videos, to uncover a single truth. The world is entering a new order where losing the media narrative is tantamount to losing the game. A new U.S.-Ukraine partnership. On its first day in office, the Trump administration notified Congress of plans to sell weapons and military equipment to Ukraine. This unexpected move not only signals a thaw in the once tense U.S.-Ukraine relationship, but also sends a clear, unspoken message to Moscow. Beyond arms, the U.S. and Ukraine sealed a deal far more significant: the extraction of rare minerals. Minerals may sound mundane, but they are the lifeblood of modern warfare. Without rare earths, there are no smart missiles. Without titanium, there are no F-35 fuselages. Ukraine, with its vast reserves of lithium and rare earths, once coveted by Russia, has now become a strategic partner for the U.S. Washington isn't just supplying weapons, it's staking an economic claim in Ukraine, preparing for a long-term geopolitical play. China's mixed signals. Across the Pacific, China appears to be grappling with its response. It's no coincidence that China's foreign ministry recently declared, "We are not negotiating with the U.S." Yet shortly after, the South China Morning Post, a Beijing-influenced outlet, published an exclusive report. Negotiations are quietly ongoing. The delay is merely due to internal divisions in the White House. One side denies talks, the other hints they're happening. What's the truth? Or rather, which message is for American eyes and which is for China's domestic audience? Within the Trump administration, three factions are at play. The trade protectionists, led by Peter Navarro and Robert Lighthizer, pushing for a complete decoupling from China. The pragmatists, represented by Treasury Secretary Bin, advocating for trade deals to rebalance without rupture, and the defense hawks, focused on the Indo-Pacific strategy. Given this uncertainty, China's decision to pause talks is unsurprising. They're unsure which path Trump will take. Yet Beijing's response is telling. While the Foreign Ministry projects defiance, CCTV, China's state broadcaster, openly stated, "We don't beg for talks, but if the U.S. initiates, we're open to dialogue." This dual messaging, tough yet conciliatory, reveals a deeper truth. China fears losing control of the narrative. Beyond trade, Taiwan remains a flashpoint. Within China, hawkish voices argue that if U.S. pressure becomes unbearable, a move on Taiwan could serve as a shock tactic. Some mainland scholars even claim, if we're already isolated by tariffs, isolation for attacking Taiwan won't change much. This logic, while compelling, carries immense risk, using war to test resilience. Yet China hasn't acted. Is it restraint or inability? The People's Liberation Army is undergoing a severe purge, with senior generals detained and command structures disrupted. Any conflict now would be a gamble. Moreover, Xi Jinping's grip on power faces internal threats from party elites and a divided populace. Launching a war amid such disunity could spell disaster. India's ascendance. If the tariff war is the opening act, the quiet shift of global supply chains is the main event. Amid U.S.-China decoupling, India, not Japan or South Korea, is stealing the spotlight. Apple's decision to move all iPhone production for the U.S. market to India by 2026 isn't just economic. It's a political signal of a post-China world taking shape. This shift gained attention when China abruptly canceled Boeing aircraft orders, leaving planes idle in Seattle. India, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand swiftly expressed interest in snapping up these abandoned contracts. In a rare spectacle, China prepaid, then walked away, while others seized the opportunity. In the global power game, such a loss of face often betrays a loss of direction. Why India? The U.S. is building an Indo-Pacific axis, a political, not just geographic, construct encircling China from the south, stretching from India through Southeast Asia to Japan, South Korea, and Australia. India, with its 1.4 billion people, surpassing China, and a youthful demographic, is the logistical linchpin. Unlike China's controlled birth rates, India's young, abundant, and affordable workforce is exactly what companies like Apple and Tesla need to exit China. But labor alone isn't enough. Production requires energy, fuel, infrastructure, and logistics. During a visit to India, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance emphasized not just trade, but energy security. Without energy, there's no manufacturing, no AI, no chips, no medical scanners, and no weapons. This explains Washington's push for India to diversify energy sources, reducing reliance on Russian oil and shielding against Chinese manipulation of production inputs. A new global order, Washington's strategy has shifted from global dialogue to selective alliances, prioritizing shared values over GDP. Democratic societies with transparent legal systems and aligned security concerns are invited to join. Trade is no longer about the lowest cost, but about trusted networks built on common principles. This explains why nations like India, Vietnam, and the Philippines are attracting massive investment while China faces capital flight, not overnight, but as supply chain links gradually detach. In response, China released a propaganda video titled "No Kneeling," accusing the U.S. of sparking a global tariff storm and urging nations to side with Beijing. To Chinese citizens, it's a bold stance. To global observers, it's a sign of anxiety. When a superpower resorts to propaganda over diplomacy, it's losing its grip on the narrative. China's countermeasures include exempting 131 U.S. imports from tariffs, including semiconductors, medical equipment, ethane, and aircraft engines, critical goods that, if heavily taxed, would choke China's economy. The C919, China's flagship domestic airliner, relies on 90% Western components. Without tariff exemptions, it can't fly. This retreat, despite Beijing's tough rhetoric, exposes a harsh reality. Economic logic forces concessions, undermining China's self-reliance ambitions. Ukraine's strategic role. The U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal isn't just about resources. It's a move to counter China's dominance of over 60% of global rare earth supplies, essential for electric vehicles, chips, radar, batteries, and weapons. By partnering with Ukraine, which holds Europe's largest lithium and rare earth potential, the U.S. is building a supply chain independent of China, preparing for a post-globalization era. Curiously, each U.S. strategic move prompts a shift in Chinese media tone. After the U.S.-Ukraine deal, CCTV began framing the U.S. as seeking talks, while the South China Morning Post cited Trump's internal divisions. This isn't coincidence. It's a sign of China's struggle to shape perceptions when it can't control the battlefield. The bigger picture. The U.S. strategy can be summed up in one word: restructuring. This isn't just about manufacturing, but about redefining allies, partners, adversaries, and each nation's role on the global chessboard. Trade, once a profit-driven game, is now a strategic tool. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed a chilling truth. From masks to electronics, the world depended on one nation, China. This wasn't just a commercial risk, it was a national security threat. The U.S. is now forging a trusted supply chain of nations sharing values, transparency, and resistance to authoritarian control. India fits this mold, not just for its workforce or location, but as a flawed yet pluralistic democracy. China, with its centralized control and opaque legal system, poses an inherent risk. This divergence shapes every decision. The U.S. is offering India F-35 stealth fighters to bolster its Indian Ocean presence, urging energy diversification and securing mineral supplies to break China's stranglehold. Meanwhile, China's propaganda grows frantic, its tariff exemptions betray necessity, and its military purges signal internal fragility. Vietnam's quiet rise. Though not a central player, Vietnam is emerging as a key link in this global restructuring. Its strategic position and ability to balance major powers make it a magnet for Japanese, South Korean, and U.S. firms. The U.S.-Vietnam upgrade to a comprehensive strategic partnership in September 2023, a historic milestone, underscores this shift. For the U.S., Vietnam offers stability and investment potential. For businesses, it provides low costs without China's political baggage. But Vietnam must reform infrastructure and standards to sustain this edge in a world of conditional globalization. The stakes for China faces not just a tariff war, but a values wall encircling it, intangible yet pervasive, embedded in supply chain certifications, ESG standards, data transparency, and scrutiny of goods origins. Despite calls for self-reliance, China's tariff exemptions reveal dependence. Without U.S. semiconductors, there's no tech. Without ethane, no plastics. Without medical equipment, hospitals falter. This dependency extends to markets. As Apple, Samsung, Intel, and Tesla plan exits, China loses its growth engine. With factories go jobs, and with jobs, social stability, a political lifeline. China can't ban U.S. medicines or advanced medical devices without crippling its healthcare system, nor can it fully localize industries like aviation without Western components. What's next? If the U.S. prevails in this trade war, can China find a way out? If China gains ground, will democracies still believe in a new global order? Beijing's options are narrowing. Retaliatory tariffs risk self-inflicted wounds. Taiwan threats falter amid military and domestic disarray. Waiting for a new U.S. administration may yield no reprieve. As the U.S., India, Ukraine, and Southeast Asia solidify a new axis and a values-based globalization takes root, China risks isolation, not for weakness, but for incompatibility with an evolving order. Can a superpower lead if it refuses the rules it once exploited? The world is watching. The U.S. is acting. India is rising. Vietnam is positioning itself. And China? Its next move will shape not just its future, but the global balance of power. This has been a WorldView Today special report. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay updated with our in-depth analyses of global events. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next report.